When you think about the typical path to success in the NBA, you probably think about guys who were McDonald's All-Americans early in high school who then played at premier collegiate programs, followed by hearing their names called by the commissioner early on in the draft on draft night. But especially nowadays, you would be naive to completely count out the underdogs who haven't been skating by on the top of the basketball world from day one. And every year, we seem to find a new crop of players coming from all sorts of situations thriving in the NBA. This brings us to the topic of today's video, where we'll be discussing a hidden gem that the Houston Rockets have found themselves in a player by the name of Jae'Sean Tate. Tate's journey to the NBA has been anything but normal, having gone undrafted back in 2018, then having played overseas for a few years, and now he's one of the most important long-term pieces to the Rockets' future. Before we get into all of that though, this video is sponsored by Otis. Otis is a stock market for cultural assets where almost anyone can buy and sell shares of rare collectibles, sneakers, and art. Here's how it works. First, you download their app and sign up for free, and on the new app, new assets are launched weekly for you to buy shares in. You can also buy shares of previously launched assets from other Otis members. Then from there, you can earn a potential return either by selling your shares to other members on the Otis platform, or if Otis sells one of the underlying assets you invested in for more than the price you paid, you also make money. Personally, I'm a bit of a sneakerhead, so the shoes they have available to invest in on the app are what pique my interest, such as this pair of old-school Magic Johnson sneakers or this pair of Nike mags. But they also have sports trading cards, Pokemon cards, luxury accessories, old-school games, posters, and much more. If this is something that piques your interest, make sure to go check out Otis by using the link in my description, and if you do, then you'll get your first share for free once you fund your account. Now, with that being said, let's get back to the video. Tate's basketball journey began in Ohio, where he was born and raised, and because of his father being a former Ohio State basketball player, he of course grew up a huge Buckeyes fan that aspired one day to follow in his father's footsteps and play basketball there as well. He attended Pickerington Central High School in Ohio, and on top of basketball, he was also a football star at the time. He likely could have been a top recruit in either sport, but after a shoulder injury that he suffered in his junior season, football was put to the side and he quit playing to focus fully on basketball. On the hardwood, Tate was actually a teammate of current Indiana Pacer Caris LeVert for a bit in high school, and together they accomplished quite a bit. As a sophomore, their team won the state title. As a junior, Tate was first team all-conference as a player, and as a senior, he was named the conference's co-player of the year. He finished his high school career as the top-ranked recruit in the state of Ohio, and the 28th best prospect in his class according to ESPN, so admittedly, he wasn't exactly much of a slept-on underdog at the start. As was his dream since he was a little kid, he did end up committing to play for Ohio State, and his time there was filled with plenty of ups and downs. Through his first 3 seasons there, he was steadily improving in terms of his production on the court, and the team seemed to be building something strong. But between his junior and senior seasons, Ohio State head coach Thad Matta retired, which resulted in pretty much the entire incoming recruiting class decommitting, and Tate himself has said he even considered quitting basketball forever. The challenge of entering his senior season on a losing team killed his motivation to keep pushing, and he even considered switching back over to football. But assistant coach Greg Paul, who played basketball at Duke, then switched over to play football at Syracuse in his college days, actually convinced Tate to see out what he started, and as a senior, he talked him into staying and even named him the captain of the team. It was actually this senior year that would begin to set him up for everything that would come his way later down the line in the future, and he didn't even know it yet. See, Tate had always been a tweener at the forward positions, and he was fairly undersized as a forward, standing only at 6'4". He wasn't the quickest guy necessarily, but he was strong and agile, and defensively he always excelled, so being a tweener stuck between either a small forward or a power forward never really hurt hurt him too much. However, in his senior season, the team allowed him to basically take over their primary ball handler duties, putting him into more of a point forward role, and even though his evolution in that role didn't immediately catch the eye of NBA scouts, it did set him on a path towards unleashing his full potential, because Tate is such a smart player who impacts the game far beyond the stat sheet and is always looking to make the smart little plays that help the team. After his final season at Ohio State, he still wasn't really on NBA teams' radars, and the most interest that he garnered at the time was being told by a few teams that he was their second or third option to be taken in the draft if other guys that they were more interested in weren't available. Well, on draft night, 60 names were called, and his name was not one of them, leaving him undrafted. He did get to play with the Bucks Summer League team that year, but before the competition even started, he broke his finger, and because of the fact that he couldn't play and showcase himself, his only real option left was to go play overseas in Belgium, where he got offered a tryout. That first professional season overseas in Belgium, which Tate has said himself, was a terrific experience, and it really helped him settle into life as a professional athlete. After one season there, though, he set his sights onto the NBL in Australia for the next season, which would be the best decision he had made yet. Last year, the NBL began to get a ton of media attention because two rising prospects that you all know of by the names of LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton opted to play in that league instead of going to college, and because of this, more NBA scouts than ever began to turn their attention to that league. Tate knew this, so he accepted an offer to play with the Sydney Kings in the NBL, and he had his best season yet at the perfect time. He was named first team All-NBL last year, and because of all of the attention the league was getting by NBA teams, they took note of his play, and he received several offers to take part in teams' training camps for this season. Amongst them was the Rockets, and based on the style of play and how he figured he would be used if given the opportunity, he chose to accept their offer over the few others that he got. This, again, was a fantastic choice that is now paying off for him. In an interview, Tate was asked about which kind of players inspired his playstyle, and he said guys like PJ Tucker of the Rockets, Draymond Green of the Warriors, Marcus Smart of the Celtics, and a few others are guys that he tries to imitate, which makes a lot of sense. All of those guys are players that, to a certain degree, are undersized for their positions, are unbelievably versatile on both ends of the court, and they all put in the work doing the little things that mattered most when wanting to win games that don't get picked up in the box score. These players have also paved a way for players like Tate to thrive because the era of small ball and positionless basketball plays directly to the advantage of Tate himself. Tate's still coming along in his first season, and the turbulence of the Rockets' year hasn't exactly emphasized it much, but he is exactly the kind of impact player you want on your team when it matters. Early in the season, during training camp, a story came out about how James Harden once grew so frustrated in practice while Tate was guarding him that Harden ended up throwing a basketball at him, which Tate has later said in interviews was just some good competition and chippiness that you want from competitors, but what it tells me is that he's not afraid of taking any matchup and holding his own, even against MVP caliber players like Harden. This season with the Rockets, Tate is putting up averages of about 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists per game, shooting 52% from the field and 33% from 3. Nothing necessarily eye-popping, nothing flashy, but solid nonetheless. However, in terms of the impact he brings, looking deeper into the numbers can tell more of the story. The Rockets have had a pretty poor year, all things considered, featuring one of the longest losing streaks the NBA has seen in quite some time. But with Tate on the court versus when he's off the court, the Rockets are two completely different teams. The Rockets get outscored by 9.3 fewer possessions per 100 when Tate is on the court, which tells me that he's the glue guy that holds everything together for the team, and when he's on the bench, they fall apart, because 9 points is quite a bit. The Rockets have a long way to go before they're back competing at a high level, but putting the right pieces together now will set themselves up nicely down the line. Players like Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. have gotten a lot of the attention recently as guys at the heart of the team's future core, but Tate is the perfect role player to put alongside them that does all of the little things to help winning teams by giving them a little more of everything on both ends, because he is as versatile as they come. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and go check out Otis using the link in my description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.